The date is December 9th, 2011. And after a moment of excitement, I realized that I had just come up with a multi-million-dollar idea. For you to understand how I got there, though, I gotta take you back to the early days. I remember as a kid starting some businesses that I didn't even consider businesses. I was buying and selling Pokemon cards. I was, renting my Game Boy Advance to my friends and just having fun trying to make some money here and there. A couple of years later, I end up at Duke. I think I want to do biomedical engineering, and after a couple of classes that really scares the hell out of me because I realized that the science I learned at the German school in Bolivia as a senior was not even as good as the people here learn as a freshman in high school in the US. So I decided not to compete in terms of GPA. I decided to shift my focus from getting a 4.0 to maybe doing something different, and I start pursuing entrepreneurship. I remember that one of my classes that really inspired me one of the projects was building a McDonald's toy. In this class specifically, we were told that we had to come up with a McDonald's toy, and we were given the guidelines, meaning they would tell us the toy couldn't be bigger than a certain amount because of the plastic you have to use, and when you multiply the cubic millimeters of plastic with all the toys you're going to build, it gets expensive for McDonald's. But also, the parts can't be too small because of choking hazards. A couple of weeks later, we started learning SolidWorks and how to build this on a computer and a 3D model. That was super, super cool. And then, a couple of weeks later, the professor says, we're going to go print this. Now, I assume we were just going to use the regular ink printers. But back in 2009, where I didn't even know that 3D printers existed, Professor Simmons took us to Hudson Hall to use a 3D printer. My mind was completely blown away. I couldn't believe that, from an idea I had, I ended up actually printing a plastic version of what I imagined. And that was actually a hockey set that I ended up playing with my friends, and we raffled it out because it was a group project, and I lost, which sucks. But I was really, really inspired. Another project at Duke that inspired me a lot was a project where we had to build a multi-phase robot to have a ping pong ball move around. And we learned about different circuits and sensors and things like that. So we were giving $25. We were sent to Radio Shack to buy little cables and capacitors and things like that. And off we were to build this robot. So my specific robot, it would drop a ping pong ball at a certain spot. It would touch a touch sensor that activated a motor, rotated a stick, pushed the ball down a Hot Wheels track into a Solo cup. Before it fell into the Solo cup, it would roll over a light sensor that would detect the changing light and pump water into the cup. The ball would float, roll down another Hot Wheels track with a bunch of water. The water then would activate a water sensor, and so on. And it went. Quickly, I realized, hey, I can not only build any physical thing I can imagine, but I can also build any sensor that could activate anything, and now I can build whatever I want. Those classes really taught me about thinking about how to solve your own problems. What else could I see around me and in my life that I could solve? So the first thing I thought of immediately was, well, I paid $1,000 for my textbooks, and at the end of the year, I got only 80 at the bookstore. Why don't I solve that, right? So that was the first business I started. It was called Shell for Relief, and essentially we combined Amazon and Craigslist. You would have all the online payments, you would have the ratings, you'd have all those things, but it was only local. Because when I went out for the summer and I was doing something else, I didn't want to take my books with me and ship them across the country, and neither did anyone. And I thought, why don't I just leave them, in storage, and when I come back and just give that book to whoever's on campus and bought my book using their credit card. Seemed very intuitive, and we were successful in meaning that we sold $50,000 worth of books just at Duke in the first year. But what ended up happening there is we were only taking a 10% transaction fee, out of which 3% was going to the credit card processing fees, and 1% was going straight to charity. So essentially 6% of $50,000, we were left with $3,000 for 2 people for a year worth of work. So yeah, making less than $1 an hour, but that experience brought so much to my life. Because while building Shelf Relief, I met Taylor Mingos, I met Idan Koren, and I met a bunch of other amazing Duke alumni and also Duke professors like George Crowdy, or even reading books from Dan Ariely, who's here today, inspired me to think about different ways to solve problems Toby Taylor helping me with programming, Idan helping me with marketing. So the Duke crowd was around supporting me. After Sheriff Relief, I actually met Jess Lipson, Brooks Bell, Josh Felser, all Duke alumni and successful entrepreneurs. In one of those talks, I invited actually Jess and Brooks to come to Duke and watch a basketball game and talk entrepreneurship. The date was set for December 10th, 2011. But on December 5th, after they had already accepted the invitation, Jess Lipson calls me and he says, "Hey Tito, unfortunately, I got a flight to New York this Thursday. I won't be able to be there on Saturday for our basketball game." But he says, "Hey, can you join us? Could you do that?" And I say, "You know what? I'm going to ask my dad and I'll let you know." So I hang up the phone. I call my dad. Somehow I convince him that I'm going to skip 2 days of class and I'm going to fly to New York with this amazing Duke alumni that I just met. And he says, "Okay, just make something happen out of that." And off I went. I mean, Jess was nice enough to even tell me he was going to cover the expenses. And I thought, okay, great. He's going to buy my, plane ticket on American Airlines, and we're going to fly there together. But what ended up happening is Jess was actually flying on a private jet, which really surprised me. And I was super excited because I was going to fly in a private jet with him that Thursday. And I thought, why are Duke people so nice to one another? This is an amazing community of just people wanting to help you just because you're pursuing your passion. So that was exciting. And once in New York, we started talking about business. I said, "Hey, what's your HR department doing? I mean, what's their daily life like? What's marketing doing on a daily basis?" We ended up talking about sales, and I learned that Jess would never outsource his sales team. It was growing from 8 people in 2011 to over 200 people in 2013, and he wanted to keep everyone in the US. He wanted his employees to be US citizens. He had his own methods, his own way to do things, his own company culture, and that was fundamental for the growth and success of his business. Now, being from Bolivia, I proposed an idea. I said, "Jess, I'm from Bolivia. It's quite cheap there. Cost of living is very low, and it's a lot of fun. Why don't you grab your US employees, put them on a plane, send them down to Bolivia, and they can just work from there. Maybe do a 6-month program, and it'd be cheaper, it'd be more fun for the employees, and you get a better ROI." And that is the moment of excitement. That's when not only Jess, but Brooks and the people around were like, "Hey, that's amazing. We should try that." 9 months later, I was taking a semester off of Duke and starting the business in Bolivia. And it was just a mind-blowing moment. Now, 2 years later, we've been able to provide Citrix a 20% better ROI on their team. Their employees are delighted to be able to work. Soon, we're starting an office in near Cancun, Mexico. And when I ask around my friends and people graduating from college, would you rather take a job in Raleigh, North Carolina, or work from Cancun, Mexico? Most of my friends are like, "I'm going to Mexico." So I love this idea of not only being able to build a business, but having learned so much from the Duke alumni and this mentality of providing the opportunities, bring something that makes everyone win, and it's just out of nowhere. I look back and throughout my years, the past years, everywhere I look, I see Duke influence on me. It could be the professors helping me out, learn about markets and management, such as George Grody. The alumni helping me program websites, or Jess and Brooks taking me to New York. It all made a big difference. So what I'm here to tell you is I encourage you to keep helping Duke students. I started Incube, the Entrepreneurship Selective Living Group on campus, and that was thanks to a $50,000 donations from a Duke alum helping us build this space with computers and us being able to hack and do cool things. We also flew all the way to Silicon Valley, and all those experiences really made a difference. I want to just thank everyone who's made a difference. It could be through your money, but also through your advice and through donating your time to us, because that's really gonna help other students make their dreams come true. So again, thank you so much, and keep moving Duke forward.